like to welcome you to Boy Meets Wellness, a podcast that discusses the complexities, celebrations, and challenges of building a wellness ritual as a BOI, a person who is born obviously incredible. You are now listening to Boy Meets Wellness with poet, motivational speaker, and wellness lover, Evolve Benton.
BOI, born obviously incredible, especially when you wear it pretty. Hello, Boy Meets Wellness community. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for your listenership. If you're really feeling the podcast, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. It helps us to pay the bills around here. Today's episode features the amazing Jazz Jordan. Jazz Jordan is a Black trans elementary teacher in Baltimore City who is motivated by Black bodies manifesting and affirming their greatness, joy, and power. Growing up the oldest of 5 children in PG County, Maryland, Jazz saw the importance of making sure all perspectives are considered in conversations. With awards in engineering, a BA in social psychology from the University of Maryland, and an MS in elementary education from Johns Hopkins University, his main focus revolves around Black and brown minds becoming confident in math and science. Before we jump into this amazing interview with Jazz, I'd like to share our wellness tip of the week with you. The wellness tip of the week is to bring some light into your life, literally. Open up the windows, shades, and bring some natural light into your life, even if you are working from home. Better than that, get outside and let the vitamin D literally hit your body. I don't know about y'all, but for the longest time, I have struggled with insomnia. Insomnia is often linked to the lack of access to sun, and what I mean by that is the inability to sleep through the night, constantly waking up, maybe like get 2 hours and wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Stuff like that. The sun literally gives us energy and depletes our energy so that we have a good night's sleep. Do y'all remember being a young person and falling asleep after a day of playing outside? Well, this is why. I remember playing basketball with my cousins and literally from sun up to sundown, and I would sleep like a baby. So the wellness tip of the week is to catch some sun rays, especially as we head into fall and winter. Speaking of weather change, our merch brand, Boy Gear, just dropped some fresh new hoodies, so y'all should go check them out. Head over to boygearstore.com. You can get some hoodies that say you are born obviously incredible and also stay warm with the weather change. Today's episode is brought to you by Mar Media Productions. Mar Media is a media production company that produces, publishes, and uplifts the stories, art, and journeys of queer and trans people of color and the people who make our lives incredible. Now for an interview with Jazz. Hello, world. Welcome to Boy Meets Wellness. Excited about today's conversation with Jazz Jordan. Jazz, welcome to the Boy Meets Wellness community. Can you please introduce yourself, give us your pronoun, and what brings you joy?
My name is Jazz Jordan. My pronouns are he, him, his. And what brings me joy? Seeing that light when a student or a kid starts to connect science to or math to their regular day.
That is beautiful. I mean, I was really excited about today's interview because we've had people on the podcast who educate, right? But we don't have educators. And I think it's different when I talk to my friends who are educators because you have a passion that's kind of lit behind the work that you're doing, right? Like it's a deeper passion. So can you tell us a little bit about where you're from, where'd you grow up, and where do you live now?
So I'm from Maryland, PG County, Maryland. It's like a jump and a skip away from DC. I lived there majority of my life, and I grew up around Maryland. I grew up in PG County, but I also moved a little bit towards Waldorf side, and Waldorf is really far. It's kind of like, we call it the suburban. We call it the country because it's nobody goes down there. And now I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, where I've been here for the last 3 years now. And I came here to actually start my teaching career.
That's lit. So PG County, shout out to Maryland. My partner's from Maryland. I've only been a few times, but the few times I have been, I have got enough crab cakes and enough crab and enough love to love that place. And there's so many amazing Black folks in that area just doing amazing creative work, change work.
Yes.
Just a brilliant place to be. So shouts out to that. So if you had a list, right? If you had a gratitude list, who would be on the top of that list as the folks who bring you joy, who make your life incredible? The top 3 people.
Top 3. My dad, he would be number 1. He just, I don't know, he just is that person that I go to and talk to for like advice, for just when I need to vent. He's my person for sure, and he's been with me obviously through my whole life, but through all my journeys. My second person would be my mom. Same thing, single. She raised me, by herself, and she, really pushed me to make sure that I was the best person I could be. So I am extremely, grateful for her, and I might have to switch my mom and my dad, but yeah, I'm extremely grateful for her. She, like I said, created me, made me who I am, and she's really been supportive through all my transitions and anything I do in life. My third person would be my partner. She's also been a big support for me as well. We've been through, everything and back and through it all. And she's like right there, providing me the foundation necessary to like keep shooting for my goals.
Beautiful. It's so good to hear that you got a support system like really holding you down, especially, during this time with like COVID-19, and it's just so much uncertainty. So how have you and your folks been doing with the COVID ship, as I like to ask it, and like what's your wellness journey right now with all that's happening, and how are things like in Maryland? Like are things shut down? Are they pretty open?
So when we first started this whole thing, I will admit that my wellness like dropped drastically because there was just so much uncertainty about what COVID looked like in Maryland. When we first started around March 13th, everything shut down. Everybody was quarantined. We were all stuck here in the house basically. And I didn't even get to say bye to my kids. And that was a really like crappy thing to experience. Because we left on a Thursday, we happened to have that Friday off, and we never came back. So the kids who I started off with last year, we never got to say bye, if like physical. We never got hugs. We never, even like I said, just got to just say bye in general. And so that was like really stressful. It was like really like a low moment for me just going into quarantine because I also realized, I will say this now, I learned a lot about myself by being stuck in the house. I am an extrovert, 100%. I've always said that I was not an extrovert. I try to deny it. I try to run from it. But I am 100% an extrovert. And being stuck in the house with one person who is great, my partner is great, but at the same time, I'm used to having energy just coming, so much so that I would be tired from the energy that I was receiving. So like being put into quarantine, it was hard. It was very stressful. I used to have long hair. I actually had to cut my hair because like from the stress, my hair was just falling out. So I actually like had to cut my hair towards the end, like August time. But it was a lot. And like I said, I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I require a lot of energy around me. I do also require to sit down and just stop because like I was like, oh my gosh, I have to figure out something to do because I'm just stuck in the house. Like, video games are cool and all, but I need to be, I'm not busy, so I need to be, figuring that out. And my partner, she was just like, bro, just stop. Like, exist. Experience this moment of not having anything to do, of having a lot less to do than I normally did. And, I'm still learning that lesson now. But the fact that it's presented to me is I'm grateful for that. Now in Maryland, we are, I don't know, like on the West Coast how it is, but we do like phases here. So phase 1, you're in quarantine. Phase 2, like stuff is kind of open. And phase 3, things are open back up at like 75%. So our governor, he requested that everybody basically be in phase 3, but thankfully Baltimore City and Baltimore County, I work in Baltimore City but live in Baltimore County, both of them said that, we're not going to do that right now. We're going to keep it at like lower capacity. They still are trying to fight to keep things quarantined, but they are also opening things slowly. They being Baltimore City and Baltimore County. And there's a lot of talk about school systems going back. Oh, and we just opened up, made it so like last Friday, they opened it so that nursing homes could have in-person visitation as well as daycares could have full capacity. So they're trying to figure out how to get schools to do that also, go back to full capacity. We don't know what that is going to look like. So that's my quarantine.
You got a story and a journey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, what you really said that really sat with me that I think is hella important is this aspect of how we were all like almost summoned to sit down, sit your butt down, grind it out a little bit, take care of yourself in the sense of like internally, right? Like do the internal work to make yourself feel more grounded and feel more in touch with the moment, right? So shouts out to your partner for grounding you in that and all of that, So with the school, like how have you been working? Like, are you working like on Zoom? Like how are you connecting with your students now that things are like at lower capacity?
Yes, I am on Zoom. We have classes from 8:30 to 2-ish, but we take breaks. I work in second grade, so we're not sitting on the computer for that long without moving. We do at least like 6, we call them brain breaks. It just gets you up and moving and stuff like that. But we are on Zoom, and we are learning technology while learning our lessons. So I always have to plan for like, okay, today I'm going to teach you how to use Google Slides or Google Docs. Oh, you know what? We also need to learn how to type today too. So, we're, like I said, we're second graders, so we're learning how to read. So making that connect of this is a T typing, this is a T writing is a lot more than we used to have to plan for, but now we're incorporating it. So yeah, we're using a lot of Zoom and just different tech platforms and apps in general, like Flipgrid and Google Slides, just different things.
Nice. Shouts out to the second graders learning all this tech early in the game, right? And also, also being willing to go with, going with some of the punches of this moment, right? Like I think our youth are really like probably showing us how to show up in the world. So I was really impressed by your bio, like reading, all this thing about like engineering and robotics. And I wanted to know a little bit more about that side of your journey. Like what got you into like robotics, like out of all things?
Robotics is so cool, and a lot of people I feel like I'm gonna start it off by saying this. I feel like our teachers and the adults in our lives made us hate or afraid of math and science, just because like sometimes the adults didn't understand what they were teaching or like the principles behind it, and so we kind of strayed away from it. So I got put into engineering class on accident. I wasn't supposed to be there in high school, and I went to the wrong classroom, and so then I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna stay here. And I was supposed to be in like not dumb, but it was like a home ec. And I was in that class on accident for a couple of seconds, my engineering class for a couple of seconds. I was like, nah, I'm switching. This is dope. I clearly got time for it because I landed in the right spot, right time period. So I started doing engineering in high school. And we did this program called Project Lead the Way. And basically for all 4 years of my high school career, I had to take at least one engineering class. And we learned like how to use software. We learned how to code. We learned how to do architectural design. So like literally we created blueprints for our school. And, I'm like, like 14, 15 doing whole architectural blueprints and things like that. Like I said, we did coding. We had to code a robot to basically like drill our initials in this clay block. And those skills just never left. And I don't know, I found enjoyment in it. So then I would go to like Target where like the Discovery Channel area was, and then pick up microscopes and pick up like those little coding games, like to teach you how to get this little rabbit to go through this maze or something, like a little like a robotic rabbit to go through the maze, and you had to code them. And if you didn't code it correctly, obviously you wouldn't hit your end mark. And those things were cool to me. I was like, this is so much fun. I'd rather be doing this than sitting there like at the time playing outside with my friends. I'd rather be sitting in the house, coding this rabbit thing. At the time, I identified as a girl, so I was actually the first female to win the engineering award in my high school. I created this desk that I'm really tall. So the desk allows tall people to basically sit in desk without hitting their knees or having to squish their bodies in at awkward angles in order to get into the desk. It also the desk raises for smaller people just so that they can also sit comfortably. Because hey, everybody needs to sit comfortably in class in order for you to learn. And I created that in high school, and I got an award for that. And it just stuck. I loved it, and I love seeing how you can use coding in little simple stuff such as reading.
That's hella dope that you were that innovative at that time, that you were not only thinking about engineering, robotics, but you were thinking about innovation. You were thinking about accessibility, right? Like you were already solving problems, which I think that a lot of times when people think about engineers or educators, they don't realize how much they're so connected to being entrepreneurs, right? Because that's all about solving problems and making sure that people have the best experience. So that's hella dope. And then you got an award. That's after you still got it up in your house and everying. Acknowledge me real quick.
I don't have it in my house. Go ahead, say that again.
I said acknowledge my history.
We don't have it up in the house, but I do still have it. It's in this little box I keep with my memory box. It's in there. So, I still have it. It's just not up in the house.
So let's talk a little bit about your experience as a trans man, right? I think that you really bringing in that intersection, and the way you talked about it was just so beautifully. What has that been like for you as an educator? Are you out to your students? Do you have that conversation with them? And do you connect more with your queer students? I mean, I know that they're only in second grade, but I know when I was in second grade, I knew who I was. So I'm sure that these babies know who they are too.
So I am not out to my school, but I'm not out to my kids. And I say that because I work for a high population of Latinx individuals. And there's a church right across the street that a lot of my kids and their parents go to. And I am apprehensive because I don't want any of my kids to get taken out because of their parents and how their parents navigate my life. So I am not out to my kids. However, everybody in the school knows that I am the biggest supporter of, if you want to, talk to me about anything, and anything, whatever that looks like, you come down to my classroom and just kick it. I went to the University of Maryland, so we have a rainbow turtle thing, and that's up in my classroom and all in the lockers, and all the kids can see it, and they know that, hey, if you have an issue, and all the teachers also say, hey, if you have an issue or a situation where you want to go, talk about who you are and what that looks like, you can go talk to Mr. Jordan. And so I'm not out to my kids. I am out to my coworkers, because people say stuff and they don't realize they're saying dumb stuff in front of you that affects your identity. And so people kept saying my coworkers were saying ignorant stuff and just about being trans and about students identifying as trans. And I was like, listen, y'all don't know this, but I'm totally a trans guy. Back down. Don't say certain stuff because it's rude and it causes, children to have. We're examples. We have to be examples for children. If a child thinks that they can say, tranny and stuff like that, who's going to save the kids that we're trying to protect? And so I had to call teachers out in my school for that. I had to, let them know that certain language is very unequitable. It's not fair for my friends who are, and I can call my kids my friends. It's not fair for my friends who are trying to figure out who they are, why this pronoun doesn't fit them, or why going to the girls' bathroom, irks their nerves. They're trying to figure this out, and by you saying stuff as an adult, it's very problematic. So all the adults know in the building, and the kids, they don't know. I've never said anything. Now, whatever they assume, I mean, hey, what's wrong with that? They've never talked to me about their assumptions, but.
Kids are so interesting when they do, right? Like when they do talk to you about it, it's like I remember my cousin when I was younger asking me, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And I remember telling him both, and the look on his face was like astonished, but also very curious. Like, you can do both, like he was just sitting there really trying to like figure it out. And he accepted it so well, right? Because I think he was probably like 6 or 7, around the same age as your second graders. Because when we give them, right, like they're going to accept it with love, especially if they love you and they have passion for you, and they have so much of an imagination. So I think that a lot of times when adults are trying to narrow children's minds, it's because they've lost aspects of their childhood, right? Like that imagination that they can have. So I'm so thankful that you're in this school system being able to do this work, because I almost got a little choked up hearing your story. You know, as a queer kid, I can't even imagine, even if I didn't know, right, like that my professor was queer, just having someone advocate for me in the background like that just sounds like a beautiful moment. And shouts out to all the teachers, because I know I had teachers who definitely did that and I didn't see it, right? Like these are things that you're doing that your kids do not see, that they're not interacting with. So what are some of the challenges, of being an educator in general right now, not just with COVID, but I think, with us hearing about like all these funding cuts and all these different experiences, and, what are some of your celebrations?
So this is my second year, like having my own classroom, and my third year just being in the classroom in general. So I know I've probably spent like a lot of paychecks, whole paychecks on just getting my classroom ready and giving them the tools that they need to be able to like be great. And I've had the community also help me with like getting Kindles and stuff like that, so the kids can work on programs, because it is hard right now. And the government is not very excited about teaching teachers for some reason. They are cutting our funds drastically. And you look at how, and sorry, my words got mixed up a little bit, but when you look at how like much police are being funded and how little teachers are being funded, you're just like, what is this, and why is this the way we're like living our lives? Because if we took some of the money that police officers get, we would have enough to really fund schools. We have school systems we have schools that don't have AC. We have schools that don't have really good books. My school, personally, I love my school. We don't have complete walls, right? So like, when I say complete walls, like I could literally reach over and like hand my co-teacher in another classroom a stapler, right? Because it's just an open space. We don't have doors, and that plays a role when we have like our active shooter drills. It's very very scary thought to not have a door in a case of an active shooter, because what are you going to do? Close the curtain? Whatever. That's neither here nor there. But like, it's just little things that we don't have the funds to do that we could if people allocated money to the right spots. And I as a teacher, I'm going to say teaching isn't the right spot, because we teach those police officers how to do math and science and social studies and how to read, right? We teach these scientists and doctors how to do the numbers and calculus so that they can save a heart. And yet we're the ones getting the crappy end of the stick, because it's a very interesting sociological thing. This job gets a crappy end of the stick because it's dominated by women, right? So we never have come from that domination of a woman's job as a teacher. And if this was a male-dominated field, man, we would get so much funding, just like police officers is a male-dominated field, so they get a crap load of money. But like, teaching is a female-dominated career, so why pay those quote-unquote women anything? Why pay the people who do those type of things because it's a woman-dominated field? But we make it work, right? We make it do. I make do, as well as a lot of my teachers, my co-teachers. We make it work, whether that looks like us buying books for our kids. I got a truckload of books that I'm going to give out to my kids when I see them, just because I know that at their homes they may not have those things. And I know that my district is not going to pay for those books. So I have to give my kids access to what they need. With COVID, we didn't know what materials the kids would have because, again, we provide a lot of the materials in our classroom. So when a kid comes into our classroom, they know for sure that they can have a pencil, they'll have crayons, they'll have paper. At home, it's not guaranteed that they'll have pencils, papers, notebooks. So what my school did is we basically took some of our funds to make sure all the kids had books, composition books, rulers, notebooks, pencils, color, construction paper. I don't even have construction paper in my own house, but they got construction paper. You know what? That's great because now I can include construction paper in my lessons. I can go to the dollar store, get some construction paper, and go do a lesson about that because I know they have it. So that has been one of the benefits is how the community has come together to really like make sure that the kids are good, and that's one of the benefits of this COVID situation.
Shouts out to you for being an incredible educator and also just for being really intentional about how you take care of your students. Do you have like a drive or a GoFundMe that you have? Because we would definitely put it in the show notes so folks can support. And I'm down to support too, because I think that this is something that's like very important. And the work that you're doing is just like simply amazing.
Right now, we don't have, I don't have a drive because there's a lot of uncertainty about what's about to happen October, November time. We're going to reevaluate, we being our district is going to reevaluate what happens if we're going to be in person or continue virtual learning. We're going to reevaluate that on October 16th. So right now, I don't know what our school is about to look like. So I haven't started another drive, but come around like October 17th, we will know if we're going to be virtual or in person, and then I'll create another one. Because since we did, use a lot of the materials we had in school, when we go back, we have to kind of replenish that.
Whenever you get the link, just let us know. We can always put it back. Don't you even worry about that. That's the powerful thing about technology, right? We could put the episode up, and then we could also edit and add that link in. And I'm always down to share with my community because when I was in middle school, something similar happened where we didn't have geometry books, and had a really powerful teacher who advocated for us getting new books. You know what I mean? And I seen the hard work that he went through to do that. Even my mom like wrote a letter to the district, like they was going in, right? Because we had crappy books, like books that was all written in graffiti. We just couldn't do it. Like, so the teachers y'all are like the saving grace, I think, a lot of times of our communities, and don't get the credit. And I still don't understand how y'all survive and pay for all these supplies. Like, I don't even get that. So maybe that, turns to this next question about, this is what pays the bills, right? But what do you do to feed your soul? What are I know you talked about like visual art, still being into robotics. Is this like a side gig, a side hobby? How does this intersect in your life?
So to feed my soul, I just hang out with friends. Like, I love being around. I told you I'm an extrovert. I love being around people. So I make that time to like hang out with the various groups that I'm in, or the various people that I've like have those soul ties with. Even if it's just a call, I'll make sure I talk to people. I also love painting. I've gotten into digital art. That's a new thing. By new for me, it's been like the last 4 or so years, but it's so different because like I grew up painting with a brush and some acrylic paint, and I created some amazing things, and now I don't have the limitations of running out of paint on digital art, and I'm like, this is amazing. I'm still learning how to like shade and stuff and what programs work best for me, and that is a fun experience to definitely like see those kind of like how you can make a digital app basically to create the same works of art that like Michelangelo and Picasso and Basquiat created.
What apps are you using right now to like create? Are you using like an iPad or like a tablet, or how are you doing this?
So I actually have a Chromebook. Like we used a lot of Chromebooks in school, and I saw the kids were using them. I was like, these are dope. They come with a pen, and I just used this app called ArtFlow, and it really like you can shade, you can create on it. It's really dope. It's not. I've looked at Procreate on the tablet, and I'm like, yo, those are so cool, but I don't have a not tablet. It's called Apple. Little Apple giant. I'm an Android person. I don't know Apple. I don't know what it is.
Apple Pencil or something like that.
Yeah,
Apple Pencil. Yeah.
So I see Procreate being used on those. I'm like, that's super cool. Am I willing to spend, buku's amount of money on that? Nah, but it's still cool. So yeah, I use the Chromebook and ArtFlow.
Hella dope. I had tapped into that a couple of years ago, so that might be something I go back to as my self-care. I can't think of the app's name right now, but it's one where it almost gives you like a coloring book kind of theme and you just kind of fill in the colors, but it's kind of nostalgic and chill, something I like to do when I'm just trying to relax my mind. So thank you for bringing that back, just as like a way, not only to like bring you joy, but a different way to create art. Like, I think that's always like cool.
I got you.
So PG County, man, when you brought that in, I have to admit that I immediately heard bling, bling, money, money. And mainly because I remember talking to a friend about PG County and they're like, yo, everybody there got bread. I was like, for real? Like, that's not my side of the world. So I don't know. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your relationship with money, because it seems like you have a lot of abundance in your life, the way that you speak, the way that you talk. So what is your relationship to money, and where did this start? Like, was your family, were they affluent? Did you have someone who was like, yo, like stick to a budget? And where is your relationship now, right? So more of like a past to the future as far as like your relationship to money and abundance.
So I am not rich. That's not the PG County I grew up in at all. I grew up in not the slums, but like it wasn't an abundance of money there. But I wish one day, and I think because of that lack of abundance, I am financially free. Like, I don't like holding money. So I do save. So let me clarify that. I do save for like a rainy day, but at the same time, I don't hold myself back from getting anything that I desire, because I haven't had. There's some times where I felt like I just wanted something, and like whether it be funds or what have you, I couldn't get it. So now I do spend, right? So I will purchase certain things that I see has an investment. So like I wouldn't go get an iPad just because I'm not an Apple kind of guy. But I did get this Chromebook because I wanted it, and I was like, I felt like I needed it, and it is a great investment now. But I know when I have to save. So I'm a Cancer, so like that home, that need of creating a stable home is definitely something that's really like still resonates with me. And I don't spend until after my bills are paid. Then I'll just like do whatever I want. And that even in my bills, that includes paying myself, which looks like paying my savings account. Then I'll spend and do whatever I want after I've paid my savings account and all that stuff. I help my friends. I help people who are in need, because I know that life is hard, and money shouldn't be something that causes you to like stress out. Yes, I'm a teacher, and we don't get paid a lot, but you just got to pay yourself first. And once you pay yourself, if you're able, once you pay yourself, then you can do with your money, and that includes being a teacher. So I paid myself. I do my bills. It's enough. Like where I am right now is enough to pay myself and still have some fun each month, and that's cool. And again, and that's kind of why I was afraid during quarantine, because I didn't know what my job was about to look like. I didn't know if they were going to like just stop us from getting paid because we're not technically going to school. And so then I panicked, and I was like, okay, you know what? I have some money saved. Do I have enough money for the rest, like an eternity? No, I don't. But I have enough to get me through a couple of months. Quarantine did change my relationship a little bit with me. I had to increase how much I paid myself, because I was paying myself the bare minimum, and I wasn't really like seeing an increase in my savings account. But after quarantine, I realized I needed to up how much I was paying myself. I started seeing like a bigger increase where I can't say I'm good for eternities, but I'm decent for a decent amount of time.
That's magic right there, right? Like, I think we've seen so many folks during what I'm calling like the COVID recession, right? Which we're going into, kind of struggling because they didn't have an emergency savings, right? So sometimes folks don't realize how powerful it is, like you said, to pay yourself. Like, so where did that concept come from for you did you always like save, like ever since you like kind of like started working? Or did you run into a moment like this, similar to myself? Like I remember the last recession, I didn't have it together. So almost the last decade, I've been really like generous to myself and trying to make sure I have some emergency money, emergency credit card, just some emergency, right? Like I didn't have anything at that time, and I was also a younger person. So like, when did you like start to shift and make sure that you were like saving and paying yourself first?
I have a friend named Truth who is a very she's really involved in finance. One of the things she told me was, before you buy something, think about how many hours you had to, or what you had to do in order to get that money that you're about to spend, right? So if it was something that was like $20, was it worth all the hours I had to get just to get that $20? And sometimes I'd be like, you know what? It's not worth all the BS I had to put through just to get this $20. This item is not worth it. And I kind of live by that now. And like, so some things I'm like, you know what? This is definitely worth it. And then some things I'm not. My mom, she taught me how to save, which is very ironic because sometimes I feel like she struggles to save as well. And she's my number two. So like, I'm very grateful for her and that lesson that I learned. But sometimes I do feel like not having when I was younger it played a role in me like kind of hoarding money at times. I remember being young and like hiding money because I was afraid of not having money, and I was afraid of being around my friends who did have money, you know, and who could just jump, just be like, you know what, let's go get some pizza. And I'm like, ooh, I don't have the money, so I started saving. Anything I would do, anytime I would get any money, I started working at like 14. Any money I got, I saved, I put away, and I started then. This money had to go towards my savings, and then some of it I would use for myself to go get a piece of pizza. But then I was like, okay, I can't use any more money for the rest of the week just because I got this one pizza. So I'm hard on myself with saving, but at the same time, I try to be like nice because like you can't take your money to the grave, and that's something I'm happy about.
Yeah, you got to find the balance there, you know, the balance to take care of yourself and then also to take care of yourself, right? Like I think when you're paying in your savings and investing, you take care of that old version of yourself. I'm gonna name her Mildred for me today. But then, you know, when you spend it now and invest in yourself now, like you're valuing who you are today. So let's do some manifesting, Jazz. Let's do some manifesting. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what are your hopes for the next 5 years?
In 5 years, I want to have my robotics team up and ready at my school. In 5 years, I want to have like 30K saved just for a rainy day. 30K. In 5 years, I would also like to not be in Baltimore or hopefully like in Philly. I really like to be in Philly in 5 years. And just like learning what that looks like. In 5 years, I also hope to be a parent in 5 years. Those are my manifestations.
I love this intentionality, Jazz. When's your birthday?
July 13th.
Yes, you brought up that Cancer vibe earlier. Very close attention to detail, like knowing exactly what you want, naming it. I could definitely see you in Philly. I'm gonna come through, get a cheesesteak. I've never been, right? It would be a new experience for me. So I wanted to tap in a little bit to that robotics school. Are you hoping to do that at one of the schools that you'll be working at, or is that something that you're hoping to leverage and start on your own for young folks? How are you planning on doing that?
So I right now I got it approved for my school right now to start the robotics team. We were going to start, but COVID kind of played a big role in how things are. We're navigating things now. So right now, my manifestation is just to have a team, right? So that's something that's attainable. And once I get that team, then we'll look what it looks like to have like clubs, like boys and girls clubs or the Y or what have you, so that everybody can have access to this, not just the kids who go to my school. Because I think that like having black and brown scientists and mathematicians and engineers is like love. Like, that is what I'm motivated by. And I don't want to just limit it to just the kids in my school.
That is lit. I'm excited about that. I hope that we're still connected because I plan to be a parent, and I could see totally my partner loves outer space and all that. So I always tease her like, we're gonna just have a little science baby that's gonna go in space. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna be in
Yep.
space because you love it so much, and you're gonna manifest that they come into this world that way. And I think that
Yep.
that's hella dope. So as we move along to our last segment, which is Boy Talk and Hop, is there anything else that you want the community to know about how they can support you, how they can support your work, how they can support your elevation?
So I post a lot on my Instagram as well. Well, more so my Instagram. I post on my Instagram, Jazz Like the Music, how to help the kids or how I'm helping the kids. Or I also post like little videos of things that we're doing. We're still trying to figure out what that looks like right now on Zoom. But before, I would post anytime we had our robotics, like any robotics that we did, anytime we went on field trips. And I think that's a big way to support us. It's just by like shouting out the kids, like, yo, that's so cool that you're making this robot, or, oh man, I'm so excited that you're going to the science center or the aquarium or what have you. I think that just interacting with the posts that I post to the kids is like mad important.
Hella dope. So everybody, make sure you go support our young people, support amazing folks doing amazing things to educate them, to take them to the next level, and show some love to Jazz Jordan as we explore more of taking over the world with future engineers and robot makers. I was watching some yesterday with a friend where they had like robotic dogs, like guard dogs, and I was like, you know what? This is definitely next world type of stuff. Like, we are in the Jetsons now, right? Like, we have made it. Like, we have arrived.
Yep. I also want to say that I advocate for like effective use of robotics and technology. Like, there's some things where people, I feel like they use robotics and technology and engineering and things like that in harmful ways, and I do not support those type of things. Yes, those are like great innovations, but robotic dogs that can help people are great. But then, like, if we use robotic dogs to like enforce police brutality, then I don't want my babies involved in any of that coding or creation of that at all. I want them to make sure that they're like using their powers for good.
I shade to that, right? Like, power and ethics, even when we're talking about technology, right? Because I think that sometimes when we tap out of it being connected to humanity, which anything that we bring into this world, to Earth, is connected, people automatically think that it can't cause harm, right? But anything created by man can cause harm. I always say that. So thank you you're just so intentional, Jazz. The folks are so lucky to have you, and I'm thankful that you're here today. So let's hop into Boy Talk and Hop, which is a little fun. I'll give you a segment or a statement, and then you'll just give me a fill in the blank, just to kind of see how an engineer's mind works, right? Like, let's tap in.
Okay.
So the first one is love is
Excitement.
money is
Scary.
ownership is
Very important to how we navigate the world.
education is
The best daggone career to ever be in, and I hope everybody becomes a teacher.
my favorite book is
So, my favorite book is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, but I don't support J.K. Rowling anymore. That's how I'm gonna say that.
me neither, fam, and it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing because I really do roll with I really did roll, right? Like, I rolled tight. We were just there for you at Universal Studios, so I hear the vibe. My favorite food is
Curry chicken with rice and beans and cabbage.
Oh, you got it down. Do you make that at home, or you know what I'm saying? Like, is
No,
that
but when I find it, I'm there. If I find it, if I'm like on an exploration mode, I'm like, oh, it's a Jamaican or Caribbean spot. Let's go. So yeah.
nice? Well, if you ever make it to the West Coast, let me know, and I'll make you some oxtail. I got something for you. Just let me know if you ever make it to the West Coast. We got that over here. Good vibes
Oh,
for you.
bet.
Wellness is
Very important during COVID. Probably the most important thing during COVID.
healing is
So necessary for Black individuals. We got to get away from blaming and do the work to get better.
if you could speak to anyone, dead or alive, who would it be, and what would you do?
My aunt Tasha, I don't know, she was always a big supporter of me, and we would just go and get some food and just talk about life, and like, I would just catch her up on all the greatness that's taking place that I know she's watching, but like, so that she can hear in first person from me how excited I am that these things are happening.
Ashe, shouts out to Aunt Tasha and bringing her in the building. And last but not least, Jazz is
Dope AF.
yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are dope. I mean, just to think about the fact that someone like you, right? Like, and not even just like the intersections of your identity, but someone that's so intentional about the way that they want to educate folks is still an education, to me is dope AF. I'm not going to curse too, because you never know who's listening, right? Like, let's take care of other people's ears. I appreciated that you kind of censored that for us. So thank you so much for coming on the interview, for jumping in, for creating space for educators, and for, telling us a little bit about your journey.
I am Jazz Jordan, and I am born obviously incredible.
Thanks for listening to Boy Meets Wellness. Stay connected on and off the show by following us online at Boy Meets Wellness. That's boy with an I. Until next time, go be incredible.